Hello, 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 and welcome to Emerald Thoth with me, Mark. Hope you're doing well. As you can see, the sun's come out in the northern hemisphere. So today I thought I'd do a little bit of a different read and take some messages from Thoth, who came out in the reading yesterday, and feel cool to see what messages divine guidance the eternal teacher and scribe Thoth has. Yesterday I mentioned he's got links to ancient Egypt, also to the Atlantean age, and Thoth tried to guide the humans on there to work in line with their ascension and all the abilities that the beings on Earth had at that time in what is considered a golden age spiritually by many. And it speaks to these guiding forces, these higher guiding forces, being a lesson for us, whether you see that as literally an Atlantean age or just as general divine guidance or something higher guiding us here as we continue to muck up the state of this earth. So I'm seeing what Thoth has to say to us today and teach us from those kind of times that believed that humans were more ascended, were more in light bodies and were more divinely aligned. So I'll start with messages from the Time Traveler's Oracle to see guidance Thoth has. So, well, it had to be. So transcending Atlantis. Number 39. 39 can talk to creative changes. Is it 9? It's like a humanitarian number as well. So creative communities and humanitarian changes in how we live on this earth, really. I think Thoth is saying to us to try and remember within our souls or remember within our beings how we can live with more magic on this earth, how we can walk with more light. There are links from Thoth and Jesus and this kind of an idea of Christ consciousness and higher light being channeled through these individuals. And it's saying if we each can embody more of this, it's just a lesson. It's not for all of us to be like these teachers, it's just guidance, it's just a connection with Source in all of us, and we can transcend and lighten this earthly plane. At the bottom of the deck is 28, patience. So this does take patience. Under the Bodhi tree, northern India. And Buddha was one of these beings who transcended in his lifetime. He, came to a point of enlightenment basically at around the age of 35 when he was under the Bodhi tree and roared like a lion, and it was just something clicked. But obviously that takes work, that takes clearing karma, and something I had been thinking about today, and this message is coming strongly to speak to it, is these teachers like Jesus and Buddha, they basically spent the first half of their lives clearing karma, learning the lessons, transcending the ego, a sense, in this earthly vessel that they had to come to a second half of life. And in Buddha it's kind of recorded that he was actually just in a state of enlightenment walking the earth until he rose into different planes. And this is what ascended masters essentially teach us, whether they're incarnated or not. And similar to Jesus, like when he rose and ascended, and the church will often kind of try and wipe this from history, but when he rose and he ascended, it's believed he lived another half of life, and he, like kind of Buddha, was on the earth in this ascended sense. But it seems to suit kind of religious factions to portray him as a martyr and disempowered, and that nothing happened after he got to that sense of embodying this light as much as possible. And obviously there's beliefs strongly in people who research and look at the knowledge that he had a life with Mary Magdalene and a daughter, and so it teaches us in this way to embody a sense of light as we reach that in our first half of life, and we try to clear as much karma and darkness and shadow as we can, and embrace the parts of the shadow that we still have, and see that in others, that we try to walk with this light and love and forgiveness and compassion and higher vibration. Strong message there. I have a look to see on the Ascended Masters who else, the Divine Masters in fact, who else may be coming through with this. At the bottom of the deck is Lady Venus, light activation, which has been coming out a lot. Call to action, power surge, earth mission. It's a consistent theme of there's an ascension and awakening, quite Venusian loving energies lots of light and being in this golden light. With Sanat Kumara together on the bottom, which I believe are basically twin flames or divine counterparts. And it's talking to you of embodying this light on earth. With that comes Isis, again with Egyptian themes. It's interesting, there's like cracks on this card. It's just sticking out to me as the light breaks through quite strongly with Isis. Reclaiming magic. Call back your power and what is rightfully yours. And this is how we learn and transcend and call back that power despite all the egoic influences around us. We look to transcend it despite all the material temptations and the devilish temptations that want to keep us out of our power. And that power is light. Your light is your power. Jesus was a spiritual warrior. You know, these gurus, or the genuine gurus and light bringers and ascended masters, which you are one of in essence, stood in their light and stood in this power even through all the cracks. In fact, they left enough cracks in their ego so the light could break through. And that's what's being asked to you. And we talked about magic earlier and strong links to Thoth with magic and the magician. You are asked to reclaim that magic of yours, that bright light you have of yours, which is you in essence. You just need to allow it to come through the cracks. And also came Katumi, initiatory experience. Your current situation is initiating your gifts. And here there's a very kind of austere sense in the close of being a little like Jesus, in terms of it being nothing fancy. But the fancy part is the light all around, and you can see like at the crown, it looks like ropes as a garb, but it's golden. And it's saying you to walk in this strength, this light, this inner strength, this knowing of your being. It doesn't have to be fancy. In fact, if it is, then it's not as strong as it would be. But you're being initiated into that. You may be around the age of 35 or 30, or you may be older, but you're still learning. Your soul is always evolving and finding that path. And so, if you're drawn to this channel, you probably are in stages of initiation or have been initiated for a while and still ascending and growing as is ever the path. I'll see what guidance is coming from the secrets of the ancestors. At the bottom, as I take out pack, is 11 poetic justice. The judge, which is essentially the justice card. And I guess the justice is like that clearing of the karma for what may be in the second half of your life. At the bottom of the deck is the trickster. Ego and excess, number 15, which is equivalent to the devil card. And the devil in this card has the beings on strings, and almost in this card like kind of Baphomet type figure, like a devilish type figure, talks about having you on strings, or what ties have you got that are keeping you from yourself and shining in this light. And in essence, it's like a reversal of the magician in the way the hands are being held, or the purpose of it is saying matter over spirit, when the aim in spirituality is spirit over matter. And just underneath that is a bit of guidance from the Mother of Air, essentially the Queen of Swords, boundaries, number 35. So you have to learn these boundaries of this excess, of this ego, and what forces that you let in. Again, the story of Jesus' temptations from the devil in the desert, they're being tested, and there's many stories like this across any different form of spiritual belief. Okay, so with the guidance that Thoth is bringing is number 22, good juju. Altar of fire, which is the ace of wands, essentially. There's a couple of birds that are on fire. It gives a sense of ascension. It gives a sense of, like the Holy Spirit, being embodied with the Holy Spirit. And again, pyramids on there with links to Egypt. Lots of yellow and red, solar plexus, a bit of orange, chakra, and the red for the root chakra. grounding those lower chakras, grounding your light in those lower chakras. And good juju again talks to that karmic balance of everything in the deeds that you have done in past lives, or the first part, or the parts that you've lived of this life, will come in return and will come in balance. And for you, the wheel is still in spin in this lifetime. But have faith that if you stand within that light, if you reclaim your power, your divine power, not your earthly egoic trickster power, then you can stand in your passion and your light, and this will guide others. And you are also being guided divinely. Number 32, altar of air, which is the Ace of Swords, clarity. And you may have been unclear previously, you may have a lot of doubts, you may have been unsure during this initiatory experience, which can be all the way up until an awakening. An awakening is just a cusp, a precipice of previous life lessons and shadow work you may have been doing unconsciously. But within that is clarity. Within the darkness comes the clear breakthrough of the light. And there's lots of light in this card. There's a strength and breakthrough through the clouds, like the sun comes out. There is clarity coming for you, and where there may have been doubts before, you can't be assured until you have the doubts. You can't know the light until you've seen the darkness. So have faith in all that's happened for you gradually, and in the right timing will come forward, and the light will come through those cracks. Have a look. Some more grounded message from the Urban Crows to see what Thoth wants to say kind of finally to you. Okay, quite a lot of cards, 4 cards. The bottom of the deck is number 49, Territory. This gives a lot, talking of something higher, it talks about division, and the aim is not to be divided, and that's kind of the path that we've been on, is a divided earth, a very dualistic earth. I think that the message is not to stay too much in that, to find that the places that will help and serve you, but not to have the dividing lines, because what you're looking for is unity, like a unity of consciousness, and that's what helps the earth transcend. The other cards that were with it, commitment. Number 8 gives a sense of abundance and fulfillment and working hard, and this card talks about commitment, whether that's with another or with many or to yourself or with the divine. All of these connections apply. But you're committed to a course of action. Your soul is committed to this initiation, to reclaiming your magic, to divine magic, as any links with Thoth would have. So if you're in this message, you're being called to your divine magic, and you're committed to that path. Even though you may have doubts and the road is never straight, true love's path never did run smooth, but with that commitment you can do and create great things. And be wary of the influences. And again, this talks to the trickster and ego and excess, and the boundaries you'll need to place, because there are always influences on this earth, bad, toxic, whatever you want to call it. They're there to teach you the lessons, but they're just influences that may detract you from your path, so be wary of them. And if you're able to do this and stay committed, then you've got number 46, Soar. And this is talking about an ascension, talking about a rising, that you're stepping into a kind of higher power. Yeah, just sit with that for a moment. That's the aim. And that's where you'll go if you rise, like these spiritual masters who had the patience and kept with their mission. They eventually rose, but it's an ongoing process for you. And if you're here, then you're committed to that path, and you will eventually see those changes as you reclaim that magic of yours. And then last of all is number 6, Bond. Now this can talk a bond with Thoth and the ascended masters and the divine masters that are guiding you. It can talk about a bond with yourself, it can talk about a bond with others, But really this may be a bond and a commitment to your path. Number 6 and number 8, a balance and a sense of abundance. Again, the colours of red, orange and yellow, and the lower 3 chakras, and balancing this out and balancing this together with what is the white light or white roses. Very much here is talking about how you deal with everything on this earth plane. These 3 cards have a pairs in them. One is a committed pair. This can talk to yourself, this can talk to others on this earthly plane, this can talk to divine guides. One is about a bond, again, within yourself, to your path, to higher guides, to people around you who are good influences. And this can talk about the influences that aren't so good for you. Others, more devilish, demonic influences that aren't good for you, and generally maybe parts of yourselves or traumas in yourself that you're battling. But with the right support and commitment, you will soar. You will keep rising, just like all of these ascended as spiritual masters, and you will lead the way. The teacher awakens, the student becomes the master. So look forward to you reclaiming your magic, stepping into your divine power from this initiation, and sharing that divine magic, dear teacher. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I love you. Namaste.